The night everything changed. The scream that tore through the Silver Peak mansion wasn't one of fear. It was rage, raw, primal, and laced with a power that made the crystal chandeliers shudder in their gold fixtures. 24-year-old Isla Thorne stood in the marble foyer, her chest heaving, her hands trembling as she stared at the two people who had just destroyed her world. Her fiancé, Marcus Hale, the charming, ambitious son of the Southern Ridge Pax Beta, was frozen mid-step on the grand staircase. His shirt was half unbuttoned, his hair disheveled. And clinging to his arm, wearing nothing but a silk robe that barely covered her thighs, was Isla's own sister. Celeste. Isla, Marcus stammered, his face draining of color. This isn't. Don't. Isla's voice was cold, cutting through his excuses like a blade through flesh. Don't you dare insult me with lies. Celeste, however, didn't look remotely ashamed. She tilted her head, her platinum blonde hair cascading over one shoulder as she smiled, a slow, cruel smile that Isla had seen 1,000 times growing up. The smile of someone who always got what she wanted. Oh, sweetheart, Celeste purred, running her manicured nails down Marcus's chest. Did you really think he loved you? You're so ordinary. Marcus needs someone who matches his ambition. Someone like me. The words should have shattered Isla. A month ago, they would have. But tonight, standing in the mansion she had helped Marcus's family design, because she was a damn good architect, even if no one in this pack acknowledged it, Isla felt something shift inside her. She wasn't broken. She was done. You're right, Isla said quietly, and both Marcus and Celeste blinked in surprise. I am ordinary. I don't have your political connections, Celeste. I don't have your silver tongue or your ability to manipulate everyone around you. She took a step forward, her dark eyes blazing. But I have something neither of you will ever possess. Integrity. The rejection that sparked a war. Marcus descended the stairs, his expression shifting from guilt to defensive anger, the look of a man who knew he was in the wrong but refused to admit it. You're overreacting, he said, straightening his shirt as if that would restore his dignity. Celeste and I, we have a connection. A real one. Not some forced arrangement our families pushed on us. Isla's laugh was bitter. Forced? I chose you, Marcus. I defended you when my father said you were too weak to lead. I stood by you when the pack questioned your decisions. And this is how you repay me? You stood by me because you had nothing else, Marcus snapped, his true colors finally showing. No rank. No real power. Your father's barely a gamma, Isla. You were lucky I even looked at you. The slap came fast and hard, echoing through the foyer like a gunshot. Marcus's head snapped to the side, his cheek turning red. Celeste gasped, but there was a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. She always did love drama. I, Isla Thorne, Isla said, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to spill, reject you, Marcus Hale, as my mate. May you find exactly what you deserve. The bond between them, thin and fragile as it had always been, snapped. Marcus clutched his chest, stumbling backward. The pain of a broken mate bond was supposed to be unbearable. But Isla felt nothing. Because deep down, she realized there had never really been a bond at all. She turned to leave, her head held high, but Celeste's voice stopped her. Running away again, little sister? How predictable. Isla paused at the door, glancing back over her shoulder. I'm not running, Celeste. I'm walking away from people who aren't worth my time. There's a difference. She pushed open the heavy oak doors and stepped out into the night. The mysterious summons. The rain was cold and relentless, soaking through Isla's coat as she walked down the long driveway. She had no plan, no destination, just the overwhelming need to put distance between herself and the betrayal still burning in her chest. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Isla Thorne? The voice was male, smooth, and carried an authority that made her spine straighten instinctively. Who is this? My name is Damian Cross. I represent the Ironwood Corporation. We've been following your architectural work with great interest. Isla stopped walking. Ironwood Corporation was legendary in the supernatural community, a multi-billion-dollar empire that built everything from secure pack compounds to luxury estates for the elite. They were also notoriously selective about who they hired. "Why are you calling me at midnight?" she asked suspiciously. "Because," Damien said, and she could hear the smile in his voice, "our CEO has a project that requires immediate attention. And you, Miss Thorne, are the only architect he'll accept for the job. I don't even know your CEO." "Oh, but he knows you. He's been watching your career for quite some time." A chill ran down Isla's spine, not fear, but something else. Something electric. "Who is he?" There was a pause. Then, Cale Ashford. The Alpha King of the Northern Territories. The phone nearly slipped from Isla's wet fingers. Cale Ashford. The name was spoken in whispers, always with a mixture of reverence and terror. He was the most powerful alpha in North America, ruthless, brilliant, and utterly untouchable. He'd built an empire from nothing after his own pack betrayed him, and now controlled half the continent's supernatural trade routes. He was also notoriously reclusive. No one saw him unless he wanted to be seen. "Why would the Alpha King need me?" Isla whispered. "That," Damien said, "is something he'll explain in person. A car is waiting for you at the end of the driveway. The choice is yours, Miss Thorne. You can go back to that mansion and accept the scraps they offer you, or you can step into a world where your talent actually matters." Isla looked back at the mansion. Through the lit windows, she could see Marcus and Celeste embracing, already moving on as if she'd never existed. Then she looked ahead, where a sleek black Mercedes had indeed pulled up, its headlights cutting through the rain. The decision that changed everything. She didn't hesitate. Isla walked to the car. The driver, a woman with silver hair and wolf-amber eyes, opened the door without a word. Inside, the car smelled of leather and something darker, more primal. Cedar and smoke. As they pulled away from the mansion, Isla's phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "You made the right choice. I'll see you soon. K." Her heart pounded. 30 minutes later, the car pulled up to a private airfield where a jet waited, its engines already running. "Where are we going?" Isla asked Damien, who had been waiting by the aircraft stairs. "The Ashford estate," he said. "In the mountains of British Columbia. It's remote." Remote was an understatement. The flight took 2 hours. When they landed, it was still dark, but Isla could see the outline of mountains against the starlit sky. Another car took them up a winding road that seemed to climb forever. And then, she saw it. The Ashford estate. It wasn't a house. It was a fortress, a stunning combination of modern architecture and ancient stone, built into the mountainside itself. Walls of glass reflected the moonlight, while sections of the structure seemed to grow organically from the rock. It was the most beautiful thing Isla had ever seen. The car stopped at the main entrance. Damien opened her door. "He's waiting for you in the observatory," he said. "Top floor. You can't miss it." Isla stepped out, her legs shaky from exhaustion and adrenaline. The massive front doors opened on their own, or so it seemed, and she walked into a foyer that took her breath away. Vaulted ceilings. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a valley of pine forests. A spiral staircase that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of black marble. She climbed. The Alpha King. The observatory was exactly as its name suggested, a circular room encased in glass, offering a 360-degree view of the mountains and stars. And standing at the center, his back to her, was a man who radiated power like a furnace radiated heat. Isla Thorne. His voice was deep, resonant, and it vibrated through her bones. He turned. Isla forgot how to breathe. Cale Ashford was well over 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell just past his collar. His face was all sharp angles and hard lines, handsome in a dangerous, unforgiving way. But it was his eyes that trapped her. They were silver. Not gray, not pale blue, pure, molten silver that seemed to glow in the moonlight. Wolf eyes. King eyes. "You're younger than I expected," he said, tilting his head as he studied her. "You're more terrifying," Isla replied before she could stop herself. Kale's lips curved into the barest hint of a smile. "Good. Fear keeps people honest." He moved closer, and Isla fought every instinct telling her to step back. She held her ground. "Why am I here?" she demanded. "Because," Kale said, stopping just inches from her, "I'm building something that will change the future of our kind. A city, hidden, defensible, and designed to protect wolves who have nowhere else to go. And I need an architect who understands what it means to be cast aside." Isla's breath hitched. "You investigated me." "Thoroughly." His silver eyes bored into hers. "I know about Marcus. About your sister. About every slight and insult you've endured from that pathetic excuse for a pack." Anger flared in Isla's chest. "You had no right." "I had every right." Kale's voice dropped to a growl. "Because you're mine now." The words hung in the air, heavy and absolute. "Excuse me?" Isla whispered. Kale reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek, and the moment their skin touched, the world exploded. A bond. Not the weak, fragile thing she'd shared with Marcus. This was a hurricane. A wildfire. An earthquake that shook the very foundation of her soul. Her wolf, silent for years, roared to life, howling in recognition. "Mate." Kale's eyes blazed silver white, his control visibly fraying. "Do you feel it?" he rasped. Isla couldn't speak. She could only nod. "You were never meant for him," Kale whispered, his thumb tracing her jawline. "You were always meant to be queen." And before Isla could process the enormity of what was happening, Kale's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression turned deadly. "What?" Isla breathed. Kale's smile was all teeth and vengeance. "Your former fiancé just declared a formal challenge for your return. He's claiming I stole his mate." Isla's blood ran cold. "That's insane. I rejected him." "He's coming here," Kale interrupted. "With an army." He looked at Isla, and in his silver eyes, she saw the promise of war. "So tell me, Isla Thorne, do you want to hide, or do you want to watch me destroy him?" The challenge. The war room of the Ashford estate was carved from obsidian and steel, a place where strategies were born and enemies were broken. Isla stood beside Kale at the head of a massive table, surrounded by his inner circle, warriors, advisors, and enforcers whose loyalty was absolute. "Marcus Hale has invoked the ancient right of reclamation," Damien announced, his tablet displaying intercepted communications. "He's gathered support from 3 minor packs and is demanding Isla's return within 72 hours. "Or what?" Isla asked, her voice sharper than she intended. A scarred enforcer named Victor answered, his tone grim. "Or he petitions the Continental Council to declare King Kale a mate thief. It would destabilize alliances across the territories." Kale's laugh was cold and humorless. "Let him try." His silver eyes found Isla's. "But the decision is yours. I won't keep you here against your will." Every eye in the room turned to her. The weight of their stares should have crushed her, but instead, Isla felt something ignite in her chest, a spark of defiance that had been smothered for too long. "Marcus rejected me the moment he touched my sister," Isla said clearly. "He has no claim. And I'm not going anywhere." Kale's expression remained neutral, but Isla caught the flash of satisfaction in his eyes. "Then we prepare for war." Secrets in the moonlight. That night, Isla couldn't sleep. The guest suite Kale had given her was larger than her childhood home, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a moonlit valley, a fireplace crackling with warmth, furniture that probably cost more than she'd earned in her entire career. But luxury couldn't quiet her racing mind. She wrapped herself in a silk robe and stepped onto the balcony. The mountain air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and snow. Below, she could see guards patrolling the perimeter, their movements precise and deadly. "Can't sleep either?" Isla spun. Cale stood in the shadows of the balcony entrance, wearing only dark pants that hung low on his hips. His chest was bare, revealing a topography of scars, some old and silver, others newer and angrier. "You move too quietly for someone so large," Isla said, trying to ignore how her heart hammered at the sight of him. "Old habit." Cale stepped into the moonlight. "When you've had as many people try to kill you as I have, stealth becomes second nature." He moved to the railing beside her, keeping a careful distance. The mate bond hummed between them, electric, insistent, demanding acknowledgement. "Those scars," Isla whispered. "What happened?" Cale's jaw tightened. "My father happened. Then my uncle. Then the council that was supposed to protect me." His silver eyes turned to her. "I was 17 when my pack decided I was too dangerous to lead. They ambushed me, beat me within an inch of my life, and left me for dead in these very mountains." Isla's breath caught. "How did you survive?" "Spite." His smile was bitter. "And a promise I made to myself, that I would build something they could never destroy. That I would become so powerful, they would regret ever letting me live." "Did it work?" Isla asked. "The revenge?" Cale was silent for a long moment. It filled the void. "For a while." He turned to face her fully. "But then I felt you. That day you walked into Marcus's office to present your designs for his pack house, I was there, watching from the shadows. The moment I saw you, my wolf recognized you." Isla's eyes widened. "That was 2 years ago." "I've been watching over you ever since," Cale admitted. "Making sure you got the right opportunities. Ensuring your work was seen by the right people. I knew Marcus would fail you, men like him always do. I was just waiting for you to realize it yourself." The revelation should have angered her. Instead, Isla felt something else, a strange warmth that had nothing to do with the mate bond. "You could have approached me," she said softly. "And said what?" Cale's voice turned raw. "That I'm a monster who's destroyed entire packs. That I have enemies on 3 continents? That anyone who stands beside me becomes a target?" He reached out, his fingers hovering near her cheek but not touching. "You deserved better than a broken king." Isla caught his hand, pressing his palm against her face. The contact sent electricity racing through her veins. "I was engaged to a man who slept with my sister. I think my standards for better are pretty low." Cale's laugh was unexpected, genuine and almost boyish. The sound transformed his face, making him look younger, less burdened. "You're remarkable," he murmured, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Do you know that?" Before Isla could respond, Cale's phone shattered the moment with its harsh buzz. He pulled away, checking the screen, and his expression went ice-cold. "What is it?" Isla asked. "Marcus isn't waiting 72 hours, Cale said, his voice deadly calm. "He's attacking tonight. The battle begins." The estate's alarm system erupted in a cascade of red lights and blaring sirens. Cale was already moving, barking orders into his phone as he strode back into the suite. "How many?" Isla demanded, following him. 40 wolves, maybe more. They're coming up the North Ridge." Cale pulled on a black tactical shirt, then retrieved weapons from a hidden panel in the wall, silver-edged blades, ammunition, comm devices. "Victor's team is engaging them now, but they're outmanned." "This is because of me," Isla whispered, horror washing over her. Cale stopped, gripping her shoulders. "This is because Marcus is a coward who can't accept that he lost the best thing that ever happened to him." His eyes blazed silver. "And I will burn him to ash for threatening what's mine." The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it ignited something primal in Isla's core. "Teach me to fight," she said suddenly. Cale blinked. "What?" "I'm not hiding in a tower while people die for me," Isla said fiercely. "I won't be helpless. Teach me." A slow, predatory smile crossed Cale's face. "You're not what I expected, Isla Thorne." "Good," she replied. "I'm tired of being predictable." Revelations in blood. Cale handed her a silver knife, its weight balanced and deadly. "Stay behind me. Don't engage unless you have no choice." "And if I tell you to run?" "I won't," Isla interrupted. "Then we fight together." Cale's hand found hers, squeezing once. "Stay alive." "That's an order." They descended into the estate's lower levels, where reinforced corridors led to strategic defense points. The sounds of battle echoed from above, snarls, gunfire, the crunch of bone. Damien met them at the command center, blood streaking his face. They breached the east wall. 20 made it inside. "Where's Victor?" Cale demanded. "Holding the main hall," but Damien's words cut off as an explosion rocked the building. Cale's eyes went pure silver, his control fracturing. "Get her to the safe room." "No," Isla said, raising the knife. "I stand with you." Before Cale could argue, the corridor doors exploded inward. 5 wolves in hybrid form, half human, half beast, poured through, their eyes wild with bloodlust. And leading them was Marcus. He'd shifted partially, his face elongated into something monstrous, his clothes shredded. When he saw Isla, his lips pulled back in a feral grin. "There you are, my runaway bride," Marcus snarled. "Did you really think you could replace me with this tyrant?" Cale stepped in front of Isla, his presence a wall of lethal intent. "You have 3 seconds to leave my territory before I paint these walls with your entrails." Marcus laughed. "Big words. But the Continental Council is watching, Cale. Kill me, and you'll be branded a rogue king. Your empire will crumble. Then I'll build another one," Cale growled. "On the bones of everyone who supported you." Marcus's eyes flicked to Isla. "Last chance, sweetheart. Come back willingly, and I'll forgive this little rebellion. I'll even let you watch while I execute your precious king." Isla stepped out from behind Cale, her knife steady in her hand. "You want me, Marcus? Come and get me." The words ignited chaos. Marcus lunged. Cale intercepted him midair, and the 2 alphas collided with the force of freight trains. The other wolves attacked, and Damien met them with brutal efficiency. Isla found herself facing a female wolf, one of Celeste's friends, she realized with shock. The woman's claws extended, reaching for Isla's throat. Training took over. Isla ducked, drove the knife upward, and felt it sink into flesh. The wolf screamed, stumbling back. "You bitch," the woman shrieked. "Celeste said you were weak." Celeste, Isla panted, was wrong about a lot of things. The unthinkable truth. The battle was turning. Cale's forces pushed back the invaders, but Marcus fought with the desperation of a man with nothing to lose. He and Cale were evenly matched, trading brutal blows that shattered stone and bent steel. Then Marcus did something unthinkable. He pulled a gun, a weapon no honorable wolf would use in combat, and aimed it at Isla. "Stop!" Marcus roared. "Or I shoot her." Everything froze. Cale went utterly still, his chest heaving, silver eyes locked on the gun. "You wouldn't," Cale said, but there was uncertainty in his voice. "The council would execute you." "I don't care anymore," Marcus said, and Isla saw the truth in his wild eyes. He'd gone past reason into madness. "If I can't have her, no one can." His finger tightened on the trigger. 2 things happened simultaneously. Cale shifted fully, a massive black wolf that moved faster than physics should allow, and threw himself between Isla and the bullet. And Isla felt something inside her snap, a dam breaking, power flooding through her veins like liquid fire. Her wolf, dormant and suppressed for so long, erupted. The shift was agony and ecstasy. Bones reformed. Muscles expanded. Her vision sharpened into crystal clarity. When the transformation completed, Isla stood on 4 legs, her fur the color of midnight with silver streaks like lightning. Marcus's gun clattered to the floor. His face went pale with shock. Because Isla wasn't just any wolf. She bore the ancient markings, the silver moon on her chest, the crescent on her forehead. She was true blood. Royal lineage thought extinct for centuries. Cale, bleeding from a bullet wound in his shoulder, shifted back to human form. He stared at Isla with something like awe. Impossible, Damien breathed. Marcus stumbled backward. No. No, you were tested. You were nothing. Isla's wolf snarled, and the sound rattled windows. Power rolled off her in waves, forcing every wolf in the room to their knees, including Marcus. She stalked toward her former fiancé, her silver eyes promising retribution. Cale's voice cut through the tension, rough but commanding. Isla. Don't kill him. Not like this. Isla's wolf turned to look at Cale. The mate bond thrummed between them, stronger now, undeniable. She shifted back, standing naked and unbowed, her body glowing with residual power. You're right, she said, her voice carrying an authority that made even Cale's warriors straighten. He's not worth the stain on my soul. She looked down at Marcus, who cowered before her. But he will pay. Isla turned to Damien. Send a message to the Continental Council. Tell them Isla Thorne, last of the Silverborn line, claims her birthright. And tell them Marcus Hale is banished from these territories. If he returns, his life is forfeit. Marcus was dragged away, screaming threats that no one believed. When the room finally cleared, only Cale and Isla remained. He approached slowly, reverently, as if she might vanish. Your royalty. Apparently, Isla said, suddenly exhausted. My parents never told me. They must have hidden it to protect me. Cale pulled off his ruined shirt and draped it over her shoulders. You saved my life. You threw yourself in front of a bullet for me, Isla countered. I'd say we're even. Cale cupped her face, his silver eyes intense. I've waited 1,000 lifetimes for you. A bullet is nothing. He kissed her, fierce, claiming, desperate, and Isla melted into it, into him, into the bond that had been calling to her since the moment they met. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Cale pressed his forehead to hers. Marry me, he whispered. Not because of the bond. Not because of politics. But because I can't imagine breathing without you. Isla smiled, tears streaming down her face. Yes. Outside, dawn was breaking over the mountains. And in the distance, a new threat was already forming, because Celeste had just learned what her sister truly was. And she wanted that power for herself. The ultimate power and revenge. The Serpent's Whisper. 3 days after the battle, Isla stood in Cale's war room, staring at surveillance footage that made her blood run cold. Celeste wasn't hiding. She was recruiting. She's contacted the Shadowfang cartel, Damien reported, his face grim. They specialize in capturing rare bloodlines for experimentation. If they get their hands on you. They won't, Cale interrupted, his hand finding Isla's. We leave for the Convergence Summit tomorrow. Once the Continental Council officially recognizes Isla's lineage, she'll be untouchable. Isla pulled her hand away, pacing. Celeste knows that. She'll strike before we reach neutral ground. Let her try, Victor growled from the corner. We'll be ready. But Isla saw something in Cale's eyes, a flicker of worry he tried to hide. The Alpha King feared nothing, except losing her. That night, Isla found Celeste's number and made a call she knew was reckless. Her sister answered on the first ring. Well. The golden child finally reaches out. Meet me, Isla said coldly. Tomorrow at dawn. The old border chapel. Just you and me. Celeste laughed, the sound like broken glass. So you can kill me? I'm not that stupid, little sister. No, Isla replied. So I can give you a chance to walk away. After tomorrow, I won't show mercy. Silence stretched between them. Then, dawn. Come alone, or I'll assume you're weak as always. The line went dead. Betrayal and blood. Isla didn't tell Cale about the meeting. She left a note on his desk and slipped out before sunrise, shifting into her wolf form to cover the 15 miles to the abandoned chapel faster. The building was a relic from the old wars, crumbling stone walls covered in ivy, stained glass windows shattered by time. Celeste stood in the doorway, wearing designer combat gear and a smile that promised violence. You actually came alone, Celeste said, surprised. I expected the king's entire army. Isla shifted back to human form, clothed in the practical gear she'd learned to keep strapped to her wolf form. This is between us. It always has been. Finally, you understand. Celeste descended the chapel steps. Our whole lives, you got the sympathy. Poor Isla, the overlooked daughter. Poor Isla, who had to work so hard. Meanwhile, I had to be perfect every single day, and no one noticed. So you slept with my fiancé? Isla's voice was sharp. That's your revenge for being ignored? I took what you valued, Celeste hissed. But I miscalculated. Marcus was weak. You, on the other hand. Her eyes glittered with greed. You're Silverborn. Do you know what that blood is worth? What I could become if I claimed it? Isla's heart sank. You can't steal bloodlines, Celeste. That's forbidden magic. Forbidden to weaklings who fear power. Celeste raised her hand, and 6 figures emerged from the shadows, mercenaries in tactical gear, armed with tranquilizer guns loaded with wolfsbane. You brought hunters, Isla whispered, betrayal cutting deeper than any blade. I brought a future, Celeste corrected. The Shadowfang cartel has a procedure. They'll extract your royal essence and transfer it to me. You'll live, powerless, ordinary, everything you were meant to be. And I'll finally have what I deserve. The mercenaries raised their weapons. Isla's wolf surged forward, but before she could shift, a dart hit her neck. Wolfsbane burned through her veins like acid. She collapsed, her vision blurring. Sleep tight, sister, Celeste whispered. When you wake up, everything will be as it should have been. The king's wrath. Cale found the note 20 minutes after Isla left. The paper crumpled in his fist as rage consumed him. Damien. His roar shook the estate. Get everyone. Now. Within minutes, 50 of his best warriors assembled. Victor brought up tracking software, locking onto Isla's phone signal. The border chapel, Victor announced. She's not moving. Cale was already shifting, his massive black wolf form tearing through the estate's front doors. His pack followed, a river of fangs and fury racing toward the one person who mattered more than his empire. He reached the chapel in 8 minutes, a distance that should have taken 30. What he found ignited a violence in him that he'd kept leashed for years. Isla lay unconscious on the stone floor, her wrists bound with silver chains. Celeste stood over her with a ritual knife, chanting in an ancient language while the mercenaries guarded the perimeter. Cale didn't announce himself. He didn't offer mercy. He became death. The first mercenary died without seeing him coming, Cale's jaws crushing his throat. The second managed to fire a shot that glanced off Cale's shoulder. He didn't feel it. The third tried to run. Cale's claws opened him from neck to navel. Celeste screamed, stumbling backward as Cale shifted to human form, naked and covered in blood that wasn't his. You touched her, Cale said, his voice barely human. You chained my mate. She's my sister, Celeste began. She was your sister, Cale interrupted. Now she's my queen. And you're nothing but a corpse that hasn't stopped breathing yet. Celeste pulled a gun from her belt, the same model Marcus had used. The council will execute you for killing me. The council, a new voice rang out, recognizes the king's right to defend his mate. 3 figures emerged from the forest, council elders in ceremonial robes, led by High Chancellor Miriam Stoneheart herself. We've been monitoring this situation, Miriam announced coldly. We have footage of Celeste Thorne conspiring with the Shadowfang cartel to commit blood theft, a crime punishable by permanent exile or death. Celeste's gun hand trembled. No. No, you can't. You made your choice, Miriam said. Now face the consequences. Cale moved before Celeste could react, disarming her with brutal efficiency. He didn't kill her, he wanted to, every fiber of his being screamed for it, but Isla's words echoed in his mind, he's not worth the stain on my soul. Neither was Celeste. Exile, Cale declared, throwing Celeste at the elder's feet. Strip her name. Strip her wolf. Let her live as the human she always acted like. Miriam nodded. So be it. Celeste's screams as the ritual began were inhuman. The elder's magic ripped her wolf away, severing her connection to her heritage forever. When it was done, she collapsed, no longer supernatural, no longer special. Just ordinary. Cale didn't watch. He was already at Isla's side, breaking the silver chains with his bare hands, cradling her unconscious form. Wake up, he whispered desperately. Please, Isla. Come back to me. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused. Cale? I'm here, he breathed, relief flooding through him. I've got you. The coronation. 2 weeks later, the Convergence Summit gathered every major pack leader in North America. The Grand Hall was packed with thousands of wolves, all witnesses to history being made. Isla stood beside Cale on the raised platform, wearing a gown that seemed woven from moonlight itself, silver fabric that moved like liquid, embroidered with ancient runes of protection and power. High Chancellor Miriam raised her staff. Isla Thorne, last of the Silverborn line, you have proven yourself through trial by fire, betrayal, and blood. Do you accept the responsibilities of your heritage? I do, Isla said clearly. Cale Ashford, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, do you pledge to honor and protect this woman, not as property, but as equal partner in ruling your kingdom? Cale's silver eyes never left Isla's face. With my life and soul. Then by the power vested in me by the Continental Council, I declare you bonded, king and queen, united in purpose and power. The hall erupted in howls, thousands of wolves acknowledging their new rulers. But Isla barely heard them. She only had eyes for Cale, who leaned down to kiss her with a tenderness that contradicted his fearsome reputation. Are you ready for this? He whispered against her lips. A lifetime of politics, power struggles, and people trying to kill us? Isla smiled. As long as I'm with you? Bring it on. 6 months later. The city Isla designed rose from the mountains like a dream made real. Hidden from human eyes by ancient magic, protected by the most advanced security systems money could buy, Haven was a sanctuary for wolves who'd been rejected, abandoned, or cast aside. Isla walked through the marketplace she'd planned, watching families shop for fresh produce, children playing in the fountain plaza she'd specifically designed for them. Former rogues now had homes. Former outcasts now had purpose. You did this, Cale said, appearing beside her with their infant daughter in his arms. Little Aurora had Isla's dark hair and Cale's silver eyes, and already showed signs of incredible power. We did this, Isla corrected, taking her daughter and kissing her tiny forehead. Together. A commotion at the market's edge drew their attention. Guards were escorting someone away, a woman who'd been caught stealing. As they passed, Isla saw her face. Celeste. Her sister looked haggard, older, broken in ways that had nothing to do with age. Their eyes met for one brief moment. Celeste's were filled with regret. Isla felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just pity. Let her go, Isla told the guards. Give her food and clean clothes. Then escort her to the southern border. Kale raised an eyebrow. Mercy? Freedom, Isla corrected. She's not my problem anymore. As Celeste was led away, Isla turned back to the city she'd built from nothing, a place where wolves could be more than their pasts, more than their pain. She'd walked away from rejection and found a kingdom. She'd been called ordinary and became a queen. And somewhere in the distance, in a broken pack house in the southern ridge, Marcus Hale sat alone in darkness, surrounded by the ruins of everything he'd destroyed, finally understanding what he'd lost. But Isla never looked back. She was too busy building the future. The end. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's becoming so successful, so powerful, so undeniably extraordinary that your betrayers are forced to watch you shine from the shadows they chose. Isla didn't just survive her rejection. She built an empire from it. What did you think of Isla's journey? Should she have shown Celeste and Marcus more mercy, or was exile too kind? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe to Crownfire Tales for more epic alpha romance stories. Your support means everything. Until next time, stay fierce, stay royal, and never let anyone dim your light.